A spacecraft crash lands in rural England, and recovery teams discover that only one astronaut, Victor Carroon, remains inside. The other two crew members have mysteriously vanished without explanation, leaving only empty spacesuits behind. Carroon is found in a state of shock, unable to explain what happened during the mission. As doctors examine the surviving astronaut, they notice strange changes taking place in his body. An unusual wound on his arm begins spreading, and laboratory tests reveal that his cells are undergoing a bizarre transformation unlike any known disease or condition. Professor Bernard Quatermass, who pushed the British government to launch the spaceship, becomes convinced that an alien organism entered the spacecraft during its voyage and has infected Carroon. Unfortunately, military officials and government authorities are skeptical of his theory, slowing efforts to contain the danger. Carroon escapes from the hospital and wanders across London in a confused attempt to find his wife. Along the way, his condition worsens dramatically. The alien presence gradually absorbs the bodies and life force of animals and humans that come into contact with him, causing him to mutate into an increasingly grotesque organism. Witnesses disappear without explanation and leave investigators puzzled by the growing number of mysterious deaths. As evidence mounts, Quatermass realizes the alien life form is not merely infecting Carroon, but replacing him entirely. The creature continues evolving into a massive, plant-like entity capable of reproducing by releasing spores that could threaten all life on Earth. Working alongside Police Inspector Lomax, Quatermass races to locate the monster before it can spread beyond control. The pursuit leads to London's Westminster Abbey, where the fully transformed creature has taken refuge among the ancient architecture. Quatermass devises a desperate plan to destroy it using high-voltage electrical cables. As the electricity surges through the abbey, the alien organism is disintegrated before it can release its spores, saving humanity from catastrophe. Although the immediate crisis is over, Quatermass reflects on the terrifying implications of space exploration. Humanity has survived its first encounter with alien life, but the experience demonstrates that the unknown reaches beyond Earth's atmosphere may contain unimaginable dangers. Despite the enormous risks, Quatermass says that scientific progress will continue.
In its early years, radio was the BBC's primary concern and did not devote much attention to television and regarded it as something of a novelty. However, in 1953, the coronation of Queen Elizabeth II caused television sales to soar across Britain, bringing an enormous new audience into people's living rooms. The BBC suddenly was under pressure to fill its television schedule, and in the summer of that year there was a particularly noticeable gap in its programming. BBC writer Nigel Neal later recalled the situation rather bluntly.
It was the middle of the summer, and someone said, "For God's sake, someone write something."
So Neal did. He created a 6-part science fiction serial that was broadcast on 6 consecutive Saturday evenings between July 18th and August 22nd, 1953. The series, The Quatermass Experiment, told the story of the first manned rocket to travel beyond the Earth's atmosphere. When the spacecraft crashes back to Earth, 2 of its 3 astronauts had mysteriously vanished. The sole survivor is no longer entirely human. The serial became a sensation. Millions of viewers were reportedly glued to their television sets, and one of those viewers was Anthony Hines of Hammer Film Productions. Recognizing the story's cinematic potential, Hines persuaded Hammer's managing director, James Carreras, to acquire the film rights. Carreras offered the BBC a 50-50 share of the profits. Nigel Neal, however, received very little consideration.
I said, "Can I have a nice big share of the money?"
Neal later complained.
And they said, "No." The BBC made a secret deal with Hammer, which I was not involved with in any way. I was not considered important enough.
Nor was Neal considered important enough to write the screenplay. Instead, Hammer approached one of its most reliable filmmakers, Val Guest. Guest was initially uninterested in the project because science fiction held little appeal for him. Hines gave him the television scripts to read while Guest was on holiday with his wife. Guest began reading the scripts and was impressed. He soon started adapting the serial with American screenwriter Richard H. Landau, who had previously worked with Hammer. He helped make the screenplay more accessible to American audiences by reducing the number of distinctly British expressions, and Hammer's American connections were vital to the production. To secure financing and international distribution, the company worked with American producer Robert L. Lippert, who generally insisted that Hammer films include American actors and writers. For the obligatory American star, Hammer selected Brian Donlevy, a veteran actor known for films such as Destry Rides Again and Beau Geste. Donlevy's forceful, hard-edged personality made his version of Professor Quatermass very different from the intellectual and somewhat reserved character seen on television. Despite his brusque screen persona, Val Guest remembered him as a delight to work with and was pleased with his performance. Nigel Neal was far less enthusiastic. He memorably described Donlevy as a wet raincoat looking for somewhere to drip. Neal also disliked many of the changes made to his story. Guest defended the adaptation by pointing out the practical difficulty of compressing 6 television episodes into a single feature film. "You have to bring 6 episodes down to the length of one film," Guest explained. Filming began on October 14th, 1954, with location work at Chessington Zoo. 4 days later, principal photography began at Hammer's Bray Studios. The original budget was set at £40,000, but the production exceeded that figure. According to Guest, the appearance of Jack Warner, a hugely popular British actor who received second billing, helped push the final cost to what Hammer considered the reckless sum of approximately £42,000. Guest decided that the film should not resemble a polished or fantastical science fiction adventure. Instead, he approached the material as though it were a factual account of a genuine disaster. He described his intended style as almost cinema verite, giving the impression that the events were unfolding in front of the camera as they happened.
Side note: cinema verite is a filmmaking approach that emphasizes authenticity, natural behavior, and real-life situations, often using portable cameras and unobtrusive techniques. Although the Quatermass Xperiment was carefully staged, Guest borrowed the style's sense of immediacy and realism. Documentaries like Harlan County, USA, 1976, The Titicut Follies, 1967, and Gimme Shelter, 1970, are some of the best-known American examples of cinema verite.
Cinematographer Walter Jimmy Harvey reinforced this approach with stark black-and-white photography. Harsh overhead lighting, shadowy locations, and austere compositions gave the film the appearance of a grim documentary or newspaper report. James Bernard's disturbing musical score added another layer of tension, creating an atmosphere of steadily mounting dread. Hammer was also willing to gamble on the film's horror elements. At the time, an X certificate was widely regarded as box office poison because it restricted the film to adult audiences. James Carreras, however, believed that the rating could become part of the publicity. Rather than hiding the film's violence and horror, Hammer would advertise them. Hammer changed the film's title from The Quatermass Experiment to The Quatermass Xperiment, removing the first E so that a large, unmistakable X could dominate the posters and cinema screens. Carreras also encouraged theatre managers to arrange midnight screenings for the brave. The Quatermass Xperiment premiered at the London Pavilion on August 25, 1955. It appeared on a double bill with the Hammer musical short The Eric Winston Band Show. When the film entered wider British distribution, Exclusive Films, Hammer's distribution company, paired it with the X-rated French crime thriller Rififi, and the combination proved enormously successful. In the United States, United Artists purchased the distribution rights for $125,000. The studio removed approximately 4 minutes from the film and retitled it The Creeping Unknown. It was released on a double bill with the Basil Rathbone comedy The Black Sheep. Robert Lippert later distributed the film in Germany under the title Shock. The box office results were extraordinary. The American double bill grossed more than $1.6 million, while the British pairing became one of the highest-grossing double bills in the United Kingdom during 1955. Most critics also responded positively, praising the film's realism, suspense, and disturbing atmosphere. For Hammer, the success was transformative. The company had finally made substantial money from a horror and science fiction production. More importantly, it had discovered a style that could distinguish it from both British competitors and the major Hollywood studios. Familiar stories presented with greater intensity, realism, violence, and visual energy. Hammer immediately began searching for its next major project. That project would be The Curse of Frankenstein. Released in 1957, The Curse of Frankenstein launched Hammer's celebrated cycle of Gothic horror films and helped begin what would become known as the studio's golden age. But the foundation for that success had been established by The Quatermass Xperiment. The film demonstrated that British science fiction and horror could be modern, frightening, and commercially successful. Its documentary-like approach gave fantastic events a convincing sense of reality, while its adult certificate and aggressive advertising showed Hammer how controversy could be transformed into publicity. Its influence extended well beyond the studio. The original television serial and Hammer's film adaptation helped shape the future of British screen science fiction, most notably the BBC's Doctor Who. Filmmakers outside Britain also took notice. John Carpenter later acknowledged the influence of the Quatermass stories on his work, particularly his 1982 classic The Thing. The importance of the Quatermass Experiment cannot be overstated. It was more than an unexpectedly successful science fiction film. It changed Hammer's future, helped reshape the British horror industry, and created the foundation upon which the House of Hammer would build its international reputation.
Will you please give me something to